Interview January 9th.
First, state your first and last name and where you were born and where you live now.
My name is Donald Allen. I was born at South Highland Hospital in 1954.
And where do you live now?
Now I live here in Pell City. My address is 160 Loxley Lane, Pell City.
State your first and last name and where you were born and where you live now.
My name is Terry. I was born in Pell City, 1954. And I live basically where I was born.
Okay. Tell us what you're doing now. I know you're retired, but what was your career path?
Well, a career path, I came out of college, graduated from University of North Alabama, went to UAB for some additional courses. Then I went to work with the state of Alabama at the St. Clair County Health Department. I was the environmental officer there for 37 years. Then I retired and went home, got tired of looking at gun smoke and Andy Griffith, and went for another job, and now I work for the city, down at the city park.
Were you the first for St. Clair County to African American that worked in that position?
Yes. In the health department.
At the health department. Did you notice any ground barriers as far as prejudice or anything when you went out to do jobs?
It took some time to pick up on it, but in several people, it was obvious. It was there. You knew it was there. You felt it was there, and you even heard it was there. But that's basically it. It was there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Don, you're retired. Can you give us your previous career path?
Well, I graduated from Pell City High School in 1972. After that, I joined the United States Navy. I spent 6 years in the Navy, first as a hospital corpsman, stationed with the Marines, and I changed MOSs to aircraft aviation structural mechanic. I did 2 tours in the Mediterranean on the USS Independence as an aviation structural mechanic on F-4 Phantoms. After that, I moved back to Pell City. I started work at Anniston Army Depot. I worked there for 36 years. And when I left there, I was a division chief over weapon quality division chief over weapons and component repair. And I retired from there in 2013. Like Terry, I sit around, watch gun smoke and all that for about a year. Then I got another job working for this good company called Sustain Quality. And matter of fact, I worked a few hours before coming here today. But my life has been good.
Awesome. Who were your parents?
My parents were Dave and Ora May Allen. My dad, most people remember my dad by the name of Hoss. He was a big man.
And who were your grandparents?
My grandparents were Betty Allen, and I never knew my grandfather. He died way before I was born. He died in 1947, and my dad was named after him, Dave.
Who were your parents?
Bertie Young and Edward Young.
And your grandparents?
Lehman Harris and Cora Harris.
Tell us about growing up in Pell City. What was it like, or what was a typical day for you? Okay, Terry.
Well, you know, back then there was not a whole lot for kids to do, but we made our fun. Not like the kids today, everything has to be bought, but we made our fun. We rode down trees, we stole chickens, we rolled up cigarette, what was it, beans, made cigarettes out of them, and probably swallowed more fire than we did smoke. And we used to have to hide from our parents by getting up into the pipes on the highway to smoke. And those things you don't find anymore. Rabbit tobacco, wild plums, maypops. You don't find those things anymore. But the joy of it is when most of my relatives moved out of state. And when they came home, they didn't know anything about riding trees. We would bend a tree down, tie it to a rope, put one of them on it, and cut the rope.
Yeah.
Shoot them across the top of the next tree. So we got plenty of whippets behind it. And my grandparents pretty much came up on a farm, and we used to take the corn cobs and put feathers in the end of them and put a nail in the other end and throw them as darts. Killed a lot of chickens like that. But that's how we did it. That's what our fun. That's what growing up in Pell City was like. Everybody made that fun.
Okay.
You remember used to be a western on called Stony Bird. When we rode those trees, we called ourselves Stony Bird, you remember?
And was it the same for you, or what was a typical day in Pell City?
That was about it, you know. We used to do a lot of camping too. You know, we would go out in the woods, especially in the summertime when there was when school wasn't in. We'd go out in the woods. We'd take rocks and put them make a circle out of them, build a fire, you know, have a campfire, and then out of the gardens that our parents and our grandparents would have, we'd go get corn and everything, stuff like that. And we'd go in the woods. We had our little pots and pans, and we sit over there, and that's how we ate our lunch. You know, we were very industrious when we were small. We didn't sit around in the house, because when you got up in the morning, if you didn't want to sweep and mop and all that, you better get out of there. But they would run us out the house. You know, there was no sitting around watching TV or anything, and then you had chores to do. So
You often heard you had to get back home before the street light comes on. We didn't have too many street lights. We had to get that light home.
What role did faith play in your early years?
What role did what play?
Faith.
Oh, a great role. In fact, my father got killed when I was 7, working on the job. He was building a bridge across the Mississippi River, and one of the pipes slipped and hit him in the head, and took him 2 or 3 days to find him. And my mama depended on Mr. Allen to take us back and forth to church. I don't think as a kid I missed a day of BTU or Sunday school U or anything of that nature, but that's the way we were brought up in the church. And a lot of my life now is based around the church.
And what church do you attend, or who was your pastor? Do you recall back then?
I still attend Rock of Zion Baptist Church, and I think Solomon Woods.
Sylvester Wood.
What?
Sylvester.
Sylvester Woods was the pastor. So you see how long that's been. I don't even know.
Long time.
And the same, Don, what role did faith play in your early years?
It played a lot, because I'm what I am today because of the way my mother and father raised me. Like I said, if Rock of Zion Baptist Church, if the door was open, we was there. And I still remember Reverend Woods, how he used to preach. He was moonwalking across the pulpit before Michael A. Jackson ever knew about moonwalking.
When you said BTU, Terry, what does that mean?
Baptist Training Union.
And what did y'all do?
Well, it's like Sunday school. It's pretty much the same thing that Sunday school was, or is now, but it was basically taught in the afternoons. And just as an added to that, the worst whooping I ever got was due to my fact of not understanding when the pastor come to eat dinner, you need to be quiet and get out the room. And Mama waited. She told me, boy, I'm gonna get you. And she waited until I went to sleep, snatched the cover back, and whipped me with an extension cord. So if child abuse had been in, my mama would have been locked up. But that's the love they had for you. They wanted you to do things right, and that's one of the things I think they instilled in most of us is how to treat people, how to love somebody else that's different from you, and how to be friendly with the people in your neighborhood, because we all came from the same place.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think back then the black churches were a lot closer back then than they are now. You know, there was a lot of fellowshipping going on back then, especially during those BTU, you know, Rocket Zion, Mount Zion, First Baptist, or First Baptist Crotwell. We all kind of gathered, all those churches worked together. But it just seems like it's a big divide between our churches nowadays. You know, we don't fellowship like we used to.
Mm-hmm.
And the services were a whole lot more spiritual back then. We didn't have no drums or no big pianos or anything like that, but man, it used to be some praise and worshiping going on back then. You know, just patting your feet and clapping your hands and singing those hymns.
Mm.
It was great.
That's good. Yeah. Whom do you recall was your most influential person in your early life? Who stands out to you?
My mama. I mean, Mama was just there. And as far as I would know, she never left home other than going where my dad worked out of town because he worked on construction. And she would go and visit him sometime. But other than that, Mama was always right there with the kids. She raised the kids. And I mean, she raised the kids. You take that however you want to. And I think you can look back at our families and you can see the result of a strong mother in the house.
And how many siblings?
Well, there was 9 of us. One kid died when he was born, but of the 9, there's only 2 now. And that's me and my sister. She was the baby girl, and I was the baby boy.
I didn't realize that. And Don, you, who was the most influential person or people in your early life?
My father and my mother, because they worked together. And my father, he worked hard all his life, from coal mining to construction sites. My mother, she used to work at, she was a cook at Iola Roberts. She'd get off at Iola Roberts, and then she'd go down to Mr. Barber's house. That's the, and they used to live right there. You know what Easy Bell and Barnes is now? It was a house right after that, right there behind where the old county jail used to be. She worked there, and then when she come home, you know, Mr. Barber would always send her some food, send her home with some food, because he knew she had 9 children at home to feed. And but those are my role models, because they worked hard and they made us work hard. And I still got that in me today, because, you know, I don't try to ask people to give me nothing. I believe that if you need something, you need to get out there and work for it. And as a family, that's how we do each other. Before we go to anything about help, any help from anyone else, we're going to help each other first.
One thing I want to add, Tanya, growing up, we had a lot of things to do and a lot of people to be in contact with. But I was a baseball coach in my early days, and I learned through the baseball field that the guy that I was coaching with, my mama actually did the ironing for his family when they were growing up. So he and I are still good friends now, based on, well, not only that, based on the fact that we got along, but we still joke about my mama having an iron for him, and he was such a big man, and Mama often commented on how big Jimmy was and how long it took to iron his shirt. But we still joke about that now, but those are some of the great things that happened in life that then seemed so minor, but now when you think about it, it was a big thing.
You both are St. Clair County Training School alumni. Right before integration, you both was in sports. Tell me a story of something about sports at St. Clair County Training School.
Well, you had to play hard, and you had to earn your position.
Absolutely.
And now, in fact of racism in the school or in the system, I found being a running back, being one of the, well, I ain't gonna say star running back, but I was a good running back. But some of my worst memories are running the ball 50 yards down the field, get to the 10-yard line, and somebody else run it in. So those type things I remember mostly about it. But all of the friends, well, Dunn was a cousin as well as a close friend, and a lot of the friends that I made during those school years or athletic years are still around and still, you know, we still consider ourselves friends. So even though we lived at a time that was turmoil everywhere, we still was able to make friends. And those friends last a lifetime because some of us are still here.
And you got to understand that Terry and I, at St. Clair County Training School, we were ninth graders. We didn't have an A or B team at that school. You know, you were all part of that one team. But we only played 1 year at St. Clair County Training School, and we were all young. No, Terry was so good. He still ended up playing a whole lot more than I did. Oh yeah, but I can remember that we had a coach by the name of Coach Cottrell. Little short fellow, but man, he was about as mean as a rattlesnake. And if you didn't make a block right or something like that, boy, he'd call you over there with that frat paddle and make you bend over and hit you across the backside back there, man. But at Pell City High, you know, it was different. You know, Coach Rich, you know, you had to earn your position, like Terry said. We encountered some things that probably shouldn't have been. Yeah, but I guess you have to understand the times or whatever, you know.
And that's what I was going to go on. Growing up on the heels of segregation and having a different perspective than others than you. And I was going to ask, did you encounter color barriers and prejudice growing up? So Terry, you're saying that at the high school that you would run all but the last 10 yards? Okay, shame on you. So Terry, you said that you would run all but the last 10 yards to get a touchdown?
Well, I use that as a scenario.
Yeah.
That's what happened if you could run. If I would run the ball, let's just say 70 yards, and you need 30 yards to go. Somebody else run the ball to the end zone. We run I ran kickoff and punch returners, and I run the ball 80, 90 yards back. Somebody else carried into the end zone. So that person that crossed the end zone was the one that get the glory, not the one that ran 90 yards, but the one that run the last 10. So those are the things that, but then we were just happy to be there.
Yeah.
Loved to play the game.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in now and then. Then it was in our heart to play, and we played. Now it's all about money.
Yeah.
Everything is about money.
I think the biggest thing going from county training to Pell City High and the sports field was, and we didn't get to see a lot of halftime shows, but the idea, and I guess it took learning each other or whatever. I can remember a time, when, the rebel flag, the Confederate flag, it may have seemed a thing of pride for some, but for some it was a sign of oppression. Or for us, it was a sign of oppression, and really, and you're out there playing your hearts out to win a football game. Your parents up there watching, and then they're having to watch a halftime show where they see that flag is prominently displayed, and the song Dixie played, and that was, but I don't know if it was a callous act or it was just an act of not understanding or not feeling the hurt or pain that a black person would feel, because to us that was really a sign of oppression to us. We didn't have to deal with that kind of stuff at St. Clair County Training School. And we were always taught that you got to love your brothers and sisters no matter what the color of their skin, or that you got to understand someone else, other than just, you got to look at somebody's inner rather than their outer. And that's the way we were taught. And that's the spirit that we went over to Pell City High with as students.
Do you remember, in lieu of that, do you remember Eddie Dean and Leroy, I believe was his name? Remember they used to fight every Monday?
Every year.
And they would dismiss school, go out to the railroad track, and those two guys would fight it out with their fists.
One white guy, one black guy, and we would all beat up in the woods. And the white over here, the blacks over here, and Eddie Dean and Leroy just steady just fighting it out every day. But I got some lasting friends though, from Pell City High. Guys that I can consider friends right now today. Joe Paul Abbott, Gaston Williamson, people like that. And I think today, if I call them and I really need them, they'd be there for me.
So, with the St. Clair County Training School and coming over to the Pell City High School for that experience, and as you're telling this experience, walking the halls. So you have always been in a school of black kids. Now you're in a school of all white kids, and only a few of you at one time that's shifting over. What was that emotion? Do you recall how that felt? The first time you encountered a schoolroom class with white people?
I don't want to use the phrase scary, but it's mostly what it was like. I mean, you went there thinking you were going for an education, and you would put out all that you could do to get with that part of you straight to education. But then when you was confronted with all of this other quote-unquote unnecessary stuff, like Brother Allen was saying, when we come up, we were taught about love. You love a person based on the person, and then your spiritual background help you to deal with that. But then when you get in the midst of it and then encounter it, it's a change in mind, a change the way you accept things, the way you should do things. But it was not bad enough that it caused you to forget your upbringing, and especially your spiritual background. Love your neighbor as yourself, and do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. These type of things is what brought us, I believe, to the point of where we are. And that fact is that a lot of us have a greater sense of spirituality based on the fact of what we was taught as coming up and how we learned to separate that once we got in the midst of people that was not our own color.
And yeah, there were some knuckleheads, you know. There's always some knuckleheads in the bunch that would say things or do things. But you have to take that in stride because, above all, you didn't want to get kicked out of school, and you wanted to finish your education, and that was the main thing was that I wanted. I wanted whether it was from St. Clair County Training School or Pell City High. I wanted my high school diploma. I wanted to graduate, and if it had to take some of this mess that was going on, then sometimes you just have to deal with it, you know, the best way you can until you can get them away from school. You can do what you wanted to, but you know, it was an experience, you know. I was just glad to have a locker that I didn't have to share with anyone. Over there, you had your own locker. But it was good. Yeah, some was bad, some was good. Pell City High, the athletic department got a big boost from us coming over there. You know, it made them a better team. You know, it made Pell City High a better team. And it, you know.
I'm gonna go back a second. Friday nights, Pell City High School had their football game. You guys had y'all game at that stadium on that Saturday. So what was that experience? Because I'm hearing that you would have to clean up Friday night's mess before you guys played, and then you have to clean up after yourselves on Saturday night.
No, the mess was still there when we played. We had to clean up after the game on Saturdays. But the mess from the Friday game was still there, so we had to police up all of the stuff from the whole weekend. That Monday they had to go over there. I don't think I ever participated in that. We were too young. That was most of the upperclassmen, the guys that was in the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. And that was the VOAG class that would go over there and do that, you know.
Okay.
But I never took VOAG, but I can remember those days, you know. I can remember we played our basketball games at the National Guard Armory because we didn't have a gym at that time, you know. And our basketball, we would leave St. Clair County Training School, and we would march from the school down 19th Street, and everybody have a chair. But that's what you had to sit in, because the National Guard would let us use their chairs, so we had to take chairs from the school. It'd be a line of people going down 19th Street to the National Guard Armory for the basketball game.
Goodness gracious, and then you had to turn around and bring them back up the...
So we won most of them. It was a happy march back.
What characteristics do you think you have that drives you to get out of your comfort zone to reach the goals that you have or have had?
One, being able or having to have listened to our parents. Now, like I said, Daddy worked out of town all the time. He wasn't there. Mama was, and Mama was Mama and Daddy. And just listening to them. And the things that we were brought up with, the ways we was brought up, teaching us to deal with everybody according to what they were and not what we were. I mean, what you wanted them to be. So that's how most of my friendship has been made, based on accepting the person for who he is, not for what I wanted him to be. And I think that characteristic is what carried me a long ways. Because right now, I can think, as we were talking a minute ago, it came across my mind, the very first job that I had was cutting grass and cleaning up that football field. And that was due to Coach Rich.
Yes.
And Coach Rich and I now still work out together. And he's 87 years old. Well, I just turned 70, that ain't young. But, I mean, that's how it was. We found things to laugh about, not always angry and wanted to fight. Everybody found something to laugh about.
Don?
I guess my biggest characteristic that I draw from coming up is my work ethics, and my belief system that everybody should pay their own way. We shouldn't look for others to take care of us. We need to take care of ourselves. Sure, there's people that's down and out, but what are you going to do about being down and out? Are you just going to stay in that position, or are you going to just get up and do something about it? My thing is always get up and do something about it. You get knocked down, get back up. That's how I try to pattern my life.
And the fact that the Bible says the poor will be with you always. So.
You both pretty much answered my last question. To be first in anything is quite an accomplishment. If you gave advice to younger people today about achieving goals, what would that advice be?
First, having it in your heart to know what it is that you want. And then you use whatever means of people that you can to get to that. Now, I don't mean go out here and grab the first drug dealer to help sell drugs to get accomplished. There's the Lord that says he will provide for you. And if you can depend on that and believe that in your heart and rest on him, then a lot of things that we want to do, if it's in his will be accomplished. And a lot of things that we try to do is not in the Lord's will, so we get, I don't want to say anxious, but we get ahead of ourselves. So if we just learn to be patient and wait and decide what it is you can and want to do and work at that, it can be achieved.
Don?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try things that's good. If you're the first one to do it, then don't be afraid to do it. If it's something good, if it's something bad, then don't be the first to do something bad, because that's awful. But if it's something good, don't be afraid to do it. And if it's something, you see something that you don't like, speak up. Don't sit idly by and watch a person get mistreated or misused or talked about. If you hear someone, it was a wise woman once said, if you ain't got nothing good to say about somebody, keep your mouth closed.
Okay. All right. Any questions? Erica, you can think of anything to ask?
Yeah, that was wonderful.
You got anything you would like to add? Because he's going to edit it up. So anything else?
Where's dinner?
Listen, I got one more. So, Don, I heard that you shut the school down at one time.
No, I did shut it.
So tell us the story.
The story was, this was after we first went to Pell City High. We were there, and we had already had the incident of the prom. I don't know if you've been over that. The first graduating class there on the senior prom, they bought tickets to go to the prom. They had their dates, they bought their gown, got dressed and everything. They got to the prom. They wouldn't let them in because they said they wasn't going to let any blacks in the prom. That had just happened the previous year, the first year that we were over there as a group. And then we come back into that whole first year over there. there was not a black. The only thing that we could do was we could play sports, and we could go to class, and that was about it. There was no representation as cheerleaders or anything like that. They were just marching with the Confederate flag up and down the field, and it was just, you know, there was no regard or no sense of any empathy how it made us feel. And a group of us got together, and we decided that, well, we've had enough of this. You know, even the principal, I'm not going to call his name, even the principal, you know, he would call us niggers, you know. And it wasn't a good atmosphere. So we got together and petitioned that, you know, that we didn't want to come to school like this. And, you know, we felt like we had people that were smart enough to be in the Beta Club. We had people that were smart enough to be in the Pep Club. We had people that were smart enough to do anything any other white students could do. And some people didn't like it. And there was a little bit of an altercation. And the principal, he got scared, and he called the law. Next thing you know, state troopers and everything like that. And they ended up shutting down school for the whole county. At the time, it was a county school system then, wasn't it? But I didn't shut the school down. Don't even say it. I did not shut the schools down. But cooler heads prevailed. And we met, you know, and it was hashed out. And there was one, Pell City did not experience some of the things that other cities experienced during integration, forced integration at that time. I can remember, you know, there were riots and fights and all kinds of stuff going on back in the 60s. During that time in the early, in the early 70s. But it never did get to that point because we had caring parents on the white side and we had caring parents on the black side. And they all ended up making it a lot better for a lot of people, you know, and like I said, yeah, there was always gonna be some knuckleheads left behind, and someone's gonna say, "Well, I don't like it." Well, sorry, we shut schools down. We got cheerleaders. We got people in the band, in the Pep Club. We got people in the band. So
it prevailed.
yes.
That's great. That's great. So before we end, we want to add the band since you mentioned that. How did that work as far as the route? I heard y'all had a long route when you did the parade. Do y'all recall the parade?
You talk about the homecoming parade?
The homecoming parade from St. Clair County Training School.
Oh. I think we had the same route as the Pell City schools did, didn't we? You know, on the parades and stuff. Homecoming parades.
I don't remember. I wasn't into the parades and all. All I cared about was football and getting out of school.
But I think well, I guess we did have the longer route because they had to march from down off the hill. Well, St. Clair County Training School, the parade would start up there at the school, and then come all the way down, what is that, 16th Street? 15th Street. Come all the way down 15th Street, cross the railroad track, all the way over to, Cogswell?
Mm-hmm.
Take a right, then go down Cogswell Avenue, and it would end at A&P, wasn't that?
That's what it was then.
Yeah, it was A&P back then. But I guess it would have been if you look at it, it was about the same distance.
Mm.
But we had a smaller band, but we had a better band.
Okay. Anything else y'all reminiscing on? This is going down in history. Anything else y'all want to add that went on between St. Clair County Training School integrating into Pell City High School?
Well, like I said, I think it was a smoother transition than other cities. If you take a look at it, it was a smoother transition. And like I said, there were some problems, but they all got resolved. And I think Pell City High is better for it.
Mm.
I think St. Clair County Training School is not better for it, but I do believe that Pell City High is better for it. The city of Pell City is better for it.
We was talking the other day, and I feel like me coming up graduating class of 87, we were sheltered. When I look at the news, and even as close as Birmingham and doing the civil rights, and even with you guys integrating over and what you're telling me that you experienced, when you look out over the states, and as red as Alabama is, and we already know what is it, Bull O'Connor, we already know the negative. We know where it was, where you all have been, to where we are now. I don't feel like we experienced the racism that right outside of our county experienced. And that's me at 54. Do you feel that at your age?
Well, I think every section of life is going to be different. What we experienced as racism and inequality here is not like what it was in Birmingham or some of the other bigger places. One, you're dealing with more people. Two, you got people that are really don't care about one another. But I think here we came to, I ain't gonna say totally, but we came to love one another to the point that we got along. And it was just a message of a song, can't we all just get along? So we got along, and that's what made us, to me, seem like we skipped a lot of the hardships that others had to deal with. But don't get me wrong, we dealt with it, but it was a different kind, simply because of the leaders we had, the people that was willing to shut the school down, those type things that got us over the hump, so to speak, that a lot of people just couldn't or just didn't have that representation to pull that out of all of the people that was involved. And because we did have great leaders, we had people that was willing to stand up and speak out. People were willing to not to accept just anything, but we were human too. And I think once we realized that all of us were human, we came to a human decision, that was to get along. Now don't get me wrong, there's still some here, that type of attitude or feeling, however you want to look at it. But on the big side of it, for the bulk of Pell City, St. Clair County, I think we are better because of the way things happen. And if you were just listening to your preaching, whatever, God has a way of working everything out. And I think that we had to go through that for a reason.
Don't get it wrong, there was, I guess you would call it racism or segregation or whatever, you couldn't, there in Pell City, you couldn't drink it out of the same fountain, water fountain. You had to go into the back of some store, had to go into the back of restaurants, don't get me wrong, there was segregation. I can remember, you know, I'm 69 going on 70 years old, and there are still people living today, they would want to deny it, but it happened. And it's the truth, it happened. But all those people now, I want you to understand this one thing, Tony. All those people back then that was staunch segregationists, they were Democrats. Now they're Republicans. So, you know, it's just the signs of the time, and you know, and I can see some of the stuff rearing its ugly head back up today. But people got to get a grip, you know. We got to learn to live on this world together. We can't live separate because the world, with technology the way it is today, and the world is not getting any bigger. And so we got to learn as a people that regardless of the color of your skin, your religion, or your background, we all are a part of God's creation. And God would not have us live separate. He would want us all loving each other. That's all I got.
Okay, one more thing. So a lot of people don't know of St. Clair County Training School. They never, even this generation now, they don't like training school. What is that? Where is that? What was the name of it before it became St. Clair County Training School?
It was, I want to get it right. Sometimes I get it kind of mixed up, but it was I got it on my phone. Because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, that's it. The first name of it was the Colored Industrial Institute for Negroes, and it was started with Rosenwald funds. I don't know if anybody knows the name of Julius Rosenwald. He was a CEO of Sears and Roebuck, and he felt the need after the Civil War and during Reconstruction to educate the black people in the South. So him and Booker T. Washington got together, and they developed what they would call now the Rosenwald Fund. And they built schools all over the South. Because at the time, it was just, back then, it was just up to the communities on how they got the schools built. It wasn't left to counties or anything like that. The communities raised the money. And Julius Rosenwald, him and Booker T. Washington had funds, and there was one school in St. Clair County Training School, which is, there was one school in St. Clair County, which is St. Clair County Training School now, or was then. That's where they built that school, and it was raised by money from the community, from people in the community of the blacks and white people in the community of Pell City, along with Julius Rosenwald Fund that built that school, the first school up there. And it stayed that way. It was the Rosenwald School till 1938. I think it was 1938 is when all the schools reverted over to the county of St. Clair County. The county started taking over the school. That's when the name of it changed from Rosenwald School to St. Clair County Training School. And a new school was built, which is part of the edifice that's up there now. In 1955, I think, when that school was built to what it is today. But there's history up there. And we're trying to revive that history by making it a historical site. And we're getting ready to try to raise money to purchase the plaque. It's already been accepted as a historical site by the state of Alabama. So now we're trying to raise money to buy the plaque and have it erected there on that site.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything you'd like to add? Say it now.
Learn to live together.